king of German mercenaries.
Chapter 120, The Cheating Venetian. After Marin's team crossed the Alps with difficulty and entered Venice, Venice's well-developed post system immediately delivered the news to the city of Venice. Inside the Venetian governor's palace, a group of senior Venetian councillors are discussing countermeasures. What countermeasures should be discussed? Marin came to collect the money. To be honest, the Venetians were not very happy to pay 1.25 million gold coins to Marin. Although they had made back most of their expenses through ransoms for the previous captives, they did not lose much. However, they were still very unhappy about Marin coming to collect the money. After all, this was watching a large sum of money go from their hands to someone else's. This kid, how long has it been? He spent 500,000 gold coins in just over a year. Isn't he too wasteful? A councillor said stutteringly. He is a banker. If he keeps this huge sum of money in Venice for one more year, he can make many loans and earn a lot of interest. How about we kill him and steal the money, a councillor suggested. This man was the controller of the underground forces in Venice and liked to do things in secret. No, if we get rid of him, his men will reveal the original agreement and Venice's reputation will be ruined. If it loses its credit, Venice's trade will be in trouble. Governor Agostino Barbarigo immediately rejected this idea. But, it's so painful to let that kid take away 750,000 gold coins like this. Yes, yes. Many people echoed. Ladies and gentlemen, I have an idea. Said a congressman named Alani. Tell me. Governor Agostino Barbarigo glanced at Alani and said. Although we owe Marin Hoffman 750,000 gold coins, the agreement does not require a lump sum payment, right? Everyone thought about it, and there really wasn't any. What I mean is, even though Marin Hoffman came to collect the money, we don't necessarily have to give him 750,000 all at once. You mean? In batches? Governor Agostino Barbarigo hesitated. Yes, we can pay him back in 3 installments, 250,000 gold coins per year. The other 500,000 gold coins will be left in Venice, which can generate a lot of profit in a year. It's a good idea. But what's the reason for doing this? I'm afraid that guy will make a fuss. The governor said worriedly. What are you afraid of? It's not like we won't give it to you. As for the reason, it's very simple. Just say that Venice is in a financial crisis. Can he still bite us? Good idea. Many people agreed. 500,000 gold coins, I don't know how much. You know, in this era, the interest rate for lending is about 10%. Lending to the king and the nobles is as high as 15%. 500,000 gold coins for 2 years can make tens of thousands of gold coins in profit. Also, I have a suggestion. Said Amaro, the director of Murano Island. We owe him 750,000 gold coins. He didn't say we have to pay him the gold coins, right? Of course, what do you mean? We can use the glass produced in Murano to pay off the debt. Amaro smiled obscenely. This method is so evil. However, the congressman felt very good. Murano is the glass manufacturing center of Venice. The colored glass produced on the island is sold throughout Europe and even the Middle East, and the price is not cheap. However, due to the frequent wars in recent years, Venice's glass business has also been affected to a certain extent, and there has been some backlog. Ameruo, the counselor in charge of the glass business, suddenly wanted to force the sale of glass products to Marin. Okay, that's good, but how much is appropriate to sell? Governor, I think that of the 750,000 gold coins, we should pay 250,000 gold coins each over 2 years. For the remaining 250,000 gold coins, we can only use Venetian products to pay off the debt. Will this piss off that kid? Governor Agostino Barbarigo was a little worried, fearing that Marin might say something irresponsible in anger. Don't worry. If we kill him, there will be a danger of leaking secrets. As long as he is fine, if the secret is leaked, his emperor will be the first one to not forgive him. That makes sense. Let's do it. Governor, don't just focus on selling glass products. You must allocate some shares for ships out of the 250,000 gold coins. My shipyard is almost unable to make ends meet. Shouted Senator Magria. And my family's food. My spices, my clock. These Venetian senators all have business families and a lot of goods. When Marin arrived at the governor's palace, Governor Agostino Barbarigo personally came out to receive Marin. Long time no see, Baron Hoffman, it's great to see you. It is also Marin's honor to see the governor again. You can just call me Marin. Please take a seat. Then, the two sides began negotiations. When Governor Agostino Barbarigo put forward the conditions, Marin's face turned very ugly. He did not expect that the Venetians would cheat like this. "Governor, I'm here to withdraw money, not to buy goods." "I know, Baron Marin. As you know, the entire Italian economy collapsed due to the French invasion, which also caused great difficulties in Venice's business. Therefore, we are not able to take out 750,000 gold coins at once. This time when you come, we can only take out 250,000 gold coins. However, if you have any needs, Venice has a lot of goods in stock, which can be used to pay off the debt." "Why do I need so many products? I don't have a chamber of commerce. When the products are shipped back, I can only look at the house and the warehouse. But we really don't have that much cash." Doge Agostino Barbarigo pretended to be pitiful, as if Venice was really poor. "Well, how about this, can Venice give me a group of craftsmen? I heard that there are many craftsmen in Venice who have signed lifelong contracts with Venice, such as the glass craftsmen on Murano Island. How about this, Governor, can you call me craftsmen with lifelong contracts?" "What kind of craftsman do you want? Calling glass worker? Impossible. The glass industry is Venice's core industry. I won't give it to you, and other councillors won't agree to it either. Governor, I don't want a core craftsman who knows the formula of colored glass, but an ordinary craftsman who knows how to blow, carve and polish glass." "Yeah. Of course, what else do you think?" Marin actually had this idea before. He had always wanted to recruit a group of craftsmen who knew how to make glassware. There was a lack of glass products in the East. Even in India, the price of glass products was very high, not to mention the Ming dynasty, which was in great need of glass products. Europeans traded with the East, but because there were no special products to exchange, they had to use money to buy. As a result, a large amount of gold and silver flowed into the East. Before the discovery of gold and silver in America, Europeans did not have so much gold and silver to purchase. Therefore, under such circumstances, Venice's glass products became an important exchangeable commodity. Even the Ming dynasty, which obtained extremely scarce glass, could sell it at a very high price. However, Marin did not have any glass craftsmen, and he only knew a little about the principles. Therefore, he had long planned to come to Venice to dig out glass craftsmen. At this stage, beautiful colored glass is Venice's main export product and also Venice's core secret. The more powerful mercury-tinned glass mirror has not yet appeared and will have to wait for decades. Nowadays, Venice's core technology is colored glass. However, stained glass technology is a high-level thing for others, but Marin, who has studied chemistry, knows the secret behind it. It's just about adding some special minerals. What Marin needed most was a glass craftsman who could process glass. After all, to trade with the Orientals, he needed to process the glass into the shapes that the Orientals liked. For example, if you carve a glass cross, only Oriental people will not like it. However, if you carve a glass dragon and phoenix, it will definitely be welcomed in the Ming dynasty and even regarded as a treasure. Marin was planning to open up a trade route with the Ming dynasty. He did not have enough gold and silver to buy silk and porcelain, so he could only use glassware that met the aesthetic requirements of Oriental people to exchange related goods and make huge profits. At the same time, Marin also asked Governor Agostino Barbarigo for a group of shipbuilding craftsmen. Governor Agostino Barbarigo did not give a direct answer, but discussed with the councillors. It was heard that even the governor of Murano, Amaro, did not object to the stained glass technology that did not touch the core. As for the shipbuilders, the shipbuilding industry has been in recession in recent years, and the demand for ships in Venice has greatly decreased. The shipbuilding tycoon Magria did not care about the shipbuilders who handed over some lifelong contracts. However, it is certain that they will ask for a high price. In this way, everyone reached an agreement to deliver a group of ordinary glass craftsmen who did not involve the confidential technology of colored glass, as well as a group of shipbuilding craftsmen to Marin. However, the price. What? A glass craftsman and a shipbuilder are worth 200 gold coins. Governor, you are too mean. Marin was so scared that he almost jumped up. It's up to you if you want it, but I'll give you this price. Baron Marin, you have to know that these are the top craftsmen in Europe, and they have a lifelong contract, and they won't betray you. Are they all veterans with more than 10 years of experience as craftsmen? Marin gritted his teeth and decided to take a batch away. Yes, you can do as requested. Okay, I want 50 glass craftsmen and 200 shipbuilding craftsmen. Marin was in short supply of shipbuilding craftsmen and glass craftsmen. So he reluctantly asked for so many, with a total price of 50,000 gold coins. In addition, considering that he needed a batch of goods for this trip to India for trade, Marin also purchased a large number of colored glass products worth 10,000 gold coins. Afterwards, Marin also requested that the families of these craftsmen, along with the craftsmen and the goods, be sent to Texel by Venetian ships. The Venetians certainly had no objection to this, but they still charged the full shipping fee. When sending the craftsmen back to Texel by hiring a ship, Marin also sent Schwartz with half of the people and 200,000 gold coins to return to Texel. Marin himself, with Saul, Kohler, Kahn and others, took 50,000 gold coins and stayed in Italy to do other things. Chapter 121, Knock him out and take him away. After Schwartz took away half of the men, Marin still had 100 men under his command, including powerful generals like Kahn, excellent investigators like Saul, and the butler Kohler. After sending Schwartz away, Marin immediately launched his second plan in Italy, to recruit Leonardo da Vinci. So, Marin took 100 men, rode on horseback and drove a carriage to the Duchy of Milan. At this time, Leonardo da Vinci was still serving in the Milan court. He was a court musician and court painter in Milan and was very popular. But what is strange is that Leonardo da Vinci never married in his life and seemed to have no interest in women. Therefore, many people suspected that Leonardo da Vinci was gay. Leonardo da Vinci had a strange temper. Although the place where he lived was close to the royal palace of Milan, it was also a relatively remote place near the palace, an independent small villa. After Marin entered Milan, although he brought 100 people with him, he did not bring many people with him to recruit Leonardo da Vinci, but only brought a few followers, because bringing too many people would be too eye-catching. This time he came to Milan to recruit Leonardo da Vinci, but he was actually trying to steal the Duke of Milan's talent. If the Duke of Milan knew about it, not only would his plan fail, but he might even get beaten up. You know, he was just a baron, many levels lower than a duke. Even if the Duke of Milan beat him up, he would have nowhere to complain. What's more, Ludovico Sforza, Duke of Milan, was the uncle of Bianca Maria Sforza, the current wife of Maximilian I. Even if the Duke of Milan beat him up, the emperor would definitely not speak for him. Therefore, if Marin wanted to recruit Leonardo da Vinci, an artist from the Milan court, he could only do it secretly and not openly, otherwise he would be asking for trouble. In the evening, when Leonardo da Vinci returned home, Marin immediately visited him with several followers. The two of them had a pleasant conversation at first, and they even talked about some elegant things in art. In fact, Marin had only read some articles about these artistic pretentious things in his previous life, but he was not very proficient in them. After discussing art with Leonardo da Vinci for a while, Marin's forehead was already sweating. There is no way, a half-baked person is no match for an expert. If both sides were not being polite and da Vinci was giving him face, Marin would have been embarrassed long ago. In fact, what Marin wanted to talk about most was mechanics and natural sciences. However, these things were a bit forbidden during this period. If they were leaked, he would be in danger of being burned at the stake. It was just the first time that he and Leonardo da Vinci met, so it was impossible for him to talk about these forbidden theories right away. Therefore, the conversation was a bit stalemate. Marin had no choice but to use money. In order to recruit da Vinci, Marin offered an extremely high annual salary of 500 gold coins, which was almost 40 times the income of an ordinary person and several times higher than da Vinci's current annual salary. However, Marin, who always relied on money, failed this time. Baron Marin, thank you for your kindness, but I am used to staying in Milan. Besides, there are many artists here who get along well with me. Here, I can discuss art with those artists every day, which is very happy. The salary you offer is indeed very tempting to me. However, I am a bachelor, why do I need so much money? I know Texel Island, it is just a desolate island in the North Sea. There are no artists to communicate with me, and I will feel lonely. After saying this, it means that he rejected Marin's recruitment. I can discuss mechanics and human anatomy with you. Marin blurted out without thinking. Da Vinci's face changed instantly. You know, Catholicism absolutely forbids dissecting human corpses. Want to dissect? Dissect a monkey for fun. If you dissect a human, the Vatican will burn you at the stake. After the Renaissance, many biologists began to secretly dissect corpses. However, they usually stole the bodies of executed prisoners and took them home to the basement to dissect them secretly. They never dared to bring them to the table to talk about it. Otherwise, they would be in danger of being burned to death. The theories related to anatomy were also privately communicated by like-minded people. Although da Vinci didn't know who told Marin that he liked anatomy, he would never admit it when it was about his life. Da Vinci even suspected that Marin was sent by the Vatican to trick him. Because Marin was too young and not strong, he didn't look like the legendary brother warrior who defeated the King of France. So, he immediately turned cold and prepared to drive him away. Marin knew that he was talking nonsense. But he didn't want to give up. Since Da Vinci was disgusted, normal recruitment methods would not work. So he nodded to Con beside him and said, "Knock him out and take him away." Then, Leonardo da Vinci, a great artist and scientist, was hit on the back of the neck by Con and passed out. Then, Marin found a sack, put the great artist in it, and prepared to take it back to the small hotel he had booked. Before leaving, he instructed Schauer and others, "Take away all the artworks here, and take down the paintings on the wall. Pack them up and take them away. Be careful not to damage them. Otherwise, I will skin you alive." After that, Marin put his hands behind his back and walked away with Con, who was carrying a sack. Schau and others stayed behind to collect the artworks collected and created by Da Vinci. In the middle of the night, Saul quietly came to Marin's room to report, "Master, everything has been packed. However, there are many things in the basement that are not convenient to pack." "What the hell? Dead bones, so many dead bones. There are adults and children. I think this Da Vinci is a murderer. So many dead bones. It's too cruel. He even didn't let children go." Saul was still frightened. Although Saul had killed people, like Marin, he only killed enemies and opponents, and would never kill the elderly, women and children. He was very angry when he saw the bones of the children. "Huh, Saul, you misunderstood. This Leonardo da Vinci was a scientific lunatic. I think these bones were either stolen or bought. This guy liked to dissect corpses. Ah, what a pervert. Saul is just an ordinary person, and he can't understand the enthusiasm of scientists for research. In his opinion, Da Vinci is blaspheming corpses. Don't worry about it, we'll leave the city tomorrow morning. By the way, Saul, send someone to throw away the remains in Da Vinci's basement to prevent them from being discovered." "Ah. Why?" "Master, I want to recruit this guy to work. If someone finds so many corpses in his basement, which have been dissected, he might be wanted by the Vatican. How can I dare to take him in?" "Master is wise, I will do it right away." The next morning, after breakfast, Marin arranged for Con to knock Da Vinci unconscious, put him into a sack, hid him in the secret compartment of the carriage, and took him out of Milan. Chapter 122 Lemon Leaves. After leaving Milan, Marin and his party continued to head south, preparing to go to the Republic of Genoa. As for why they wanted to go to Genoa, Marin lost his reason for looking for lemons. As a fan of the great voyages, Marin knew very well that the British discovered in the 18th century that drinking lemon tea can prevent scurvy, and adding a few drops of lemon juice to fresh water can make a bottle of fresh water that would go bad in a week survive for a month or two. A friend of Marin's in his previous life was a fat man who loved to drink lemon water. Although the fat man didn't lose much weight, it was somewhat effective. Moreover, Marin drank the lemon water and found it bitter and astringent, which was very unpalatable. However, lemon water can indeed supplement vitamins and prolong the time for fresh water to deteriorate. Genoa was the first place in Italy to start growing lemons, which began around the beginning of the 15th century. Today, although lemons are also grown in other parts of Italy, the scale of cultivation is completely incomparable to that of Genoa. So, Marin went to Genoa to see if there were any fruit farmers who had dried lemons in stock so that he could buy some. Sailors could also prevent scurvy by drinking water soaked in dried lemons. You know, in that era, scurvy was really terrible. When da Gama's fleet returned home, 2 of the 4 ships lost people, including da Gama's brother. Most of these sailors died of scurvy. Therefore, as long as you overcome scurvy and are not unlucky enough to encounter a storm or reef, the survival rate of sailing is still quite high. As for other diseases, you don't have to worry about them because sailors are stronger than ordinary people and are less likely to get common diseases. Marin led his team across the Po River, heading south, leaving the Duchy of Milan, and soon arrived in Genoa. However, the city of Milan was in chaos. Leonardo da Vinci was a very favored member of the court. You know, when Bianca Maria Sforza married Maximilian I, it was Leonardo da Vinci who presided over the relevant affairs. His disappearance made the Duke of Milan very angry. A large number of soldiers searched the villa where da Vinci lived and nearby clues. But it was useless because, in this era, professional police had not yet emerged and there were no powerful detectives. In addition, Marin was also a modern man who had read too many detective novels and paid great attention to counterdetection. Even when taking da Vinci out of the city, Marin and his men did not look panicked at all. Moreover, Marin also used a forged ID to enter Milan. As for how to forge it, it was too simple, a carrot seal. In his previous life, a high school classmate of Marin failed to get into college and later started a business of forging certificates. Marin thought it was fun, so he learned how to carve seals with this classmate for a while, and he learned it quite well. So, using the identity certificates of other German merchants, he forged a batch of parchment identity certificates and official seals in the Holy Roman Empire. As for the junior officers guarding the city in the Middle Ages, there was no problem at all. Even if it was inferred that they had problems, they could only track down the so-called German merchants. Therefore, Marin was not worried about being involved in the matter, and he walked on the official road with his men. Moreover, this group of people were either riding horses or driving carriages, and they were moving very fast. After entering Genoa, Marin began to send people to look for lemon plantations everywhere, preparing to buy dried lemons. It was early May, and there were definitely no fresh lemons on the market. Therefore, Marin could only seek to buy the dried lemons left by the growers last year. However, after asking several plantations, none of them had dried lemons left. This was because eating lemons, leading to good sales of lemons, which were also exported to other parts of Italy. Marlin was very distressed, because dried lemons were something he wanted very much. Without lemons, sailing would be too dangerous. If an important sailor died of scurvy, it would be a big loss. However, there are definitely no fresh lemons at the moment. If you want lemons, you have to wait until the lemon harvest season in autumn. However, Vasco da Gama will set off in July. Marin was unable to obtain a complete set of navigation and hydrographic information on the west coast of Africa, so he could only send a ship to stern Vasco da Gama. Therefore, he had to get something to prevent scurvy before July. In a lemon plantation, after failing to purchase dried lemons again, Marin was bored and picked up a lemon leaf and put it in his mouth to chew for fun. This is a quirk left by Marlin in his previous life. When I am bored and thinking about something, I like to pick a leaf or grass and chew it in my mouth. A bitter taste suddenly came from his mouth, pulling Marin back to his senses. Marin was suddenly stunned. He vaguely remembered that most of the British sailors later did not drink water soaked with dried lemons, that was a privilege only for officers. Ordinary sailors simply drank water soaked with lemon leaves, which was much lower end. Yeah, these lemon leaves are not bad either. Marlin patted his head, feeling that he had reached a dead end. Lemon leaves and lemons are of the same origin. Although the ingredients are not as good as lemon fruit, many of them are very similar. Moreover, in later generations, we even heard that green tea leaves also contain vitamin C, not to mention lemon leaves. Marin even suspected that any green leaf soaked in water could produce vitamin C, but the content varied. As for black tea, it lacked vitamin C because the tea leaves were roasted over fire, destroying vitamin C inside. Marin, who was very depressed just now, was excited in an instant. So he began to instruct Kohler to buy tender lemon leaves from local fruit farmers. When the fruit farmers heard this, they refused at first. What a joke! You took away the fruits, and the trees can no longer photosynthesize. This is something they don't understand, and how can you grow lemons? However, Marin casually grabbed a handful of gold coins, and these fruit farmers immediately knelt down. You know, even if the entire orchard has a bumper harvest of lemons, it can't be sold for even a handful of gold coins, so, after paying the full amount, Marin successfully picked all the lemon leaves from the orchard. Then, Marin borrowed a place from the fruit farmers to dry the leaves. Because tender leaves cannot be preserved, they can only be dried. Although a lot of vitamin C is lost after drying, it is much better than roasted black tea. Soaking it in hot water still has a lot of vitamin C. Afterwards, Marin led his men to raid several lemon orchards and plucked all the lemon leaves from the orchards. For a while, this became a strange story in the Genoese countryside. It was said that a stupid German guy didn't buy lemons, but liked to eat lemon leaves, and bought a lot of them. After Marin picked the lemon leaves, he dried them all and hired local farmers to help him chop the dried lemon leaves and put them into sacks. The lemon tree leaves were completely unrecognizable. The sacks were filled with piles of dark green debris. Except for Marin's men, no one else could tell what this thing was. Marin looked at the dark green crumbs in the sack and laughed, "Hee, I told you to compete with me for maritime trade. All your crews will die, and my crews will not get scurvy." Before leaving, Marin repeatedly ordered his men not to tell anyone that the crumbs were lemon leaves, or they would be punished by military law without mercy.